I'm eating McDonald's, an experience with Datura. Arrowwood, December 5th, 2005. Somewhere between 11 and 11:30 p.m. on a mid-April day in a small Midwest town, two guys named Terry, me, and Will, my friend, were sitting around playing video games and had no marijuana. That's when I pulled out about 7 grams of month-old Datura seeds, which were only known to me as moon lily variety at the time. They were from home plants of a relative to be passed to another until I had put them away and forgot about them. I don't remember how I came to learn that the moon lily was intoxicating, because I didn't know its proper name for months after the experience. I assumed they were a variety of morning glory seeds, only learning the truth after following up on experiences in the archives. Nothing at all happened after an initial test of a gram at most, so I figured it would be safe for me and Will to try 3.5 this night. So here me and Will are thinking, what have we got to lose? After all, LSD and mushrooms wears off within 8 to 12 hours. How bad can an organic flower be? After eating 3.5 grams of sunflower tasting Datura seeds, each on an empty stomach, pretty goddamn bad. Within 45 minutes, and still expecting nothing, our vision began to fail like so many reports before this one. I thought that would be the worst of it, but not quite. Will decided he should go home a little after 12 to avoid coming home to angry, worried parents. As he walked out the door, I looked into his eyes, dinner plates, and knew that we were in for something big. I should have stopped him then, but we've both taken hallucinogens enough that I felt he could take care of himself. As soon as he left, I was on my computer and noticed I couldn't read it, much less stay concentrated on it. Again, like so many before, I found myself searching for dropped cigarettes, but they were burning through and sliding under the sheets. I could feel the burnt holes and heat coming off of them. Feel the cigarette roll away from me under the sheets, and then it hit me that I never lit a cigarette, but I sure needed one. Forget that I was just thrashing around like a wild man for imaginary cigarettes. It was time for the real thing. I actually smoked the same amount as I normally do, 30 to 45 minutes apart, but I always felt like I had one in my hand. Many times my index, middle finger, and thumb would meet as I spaced off, and that would induce a frantic cigarette hunt. It was mostly happening in my left hand, which I don't even smoke with. This is the aspect I'm most curious about of all my experiences. It's so common the explanation is probably very simple. Sometime I laid down to sleep it off. Big no-no. I'm guessing it was around 2 a.m. by this time. I never felt like I fell asleep, in fact. I sat right up and started using my computer at one point. I opened notepad.exe maybe by accident, not really sure. What I was sure of, though, was that aliens were typing messages to me and replying in real time. The room looked disconnected and disoriented, with subtle colors like red, green, and yellow, and everything seemed liquid, as if I was in an out-of-body state, or at least how they make it appear on the soap opera flashbacks. I was visited by some friends, though I can only remember one person in particular, my girlfriend. I saw her sitting behind my oscillating fan, staring at me, saying nothing. I started yelling at the top of my lungs. Why won't you talk to me? Just fucking talk to me, when I heard a knock at the door. It's my sister asking if I am okay, because they heard talking in my room, and I say I was just having a dream, which wasn't a complete lie. All it takes, though, is one look into my solar eclipse of a pupil, and the story falls apart. She tells me it's 4 a.m., which I have a hard time believing, because in my mind, my friend had just left and I was listening to music, surfing the net, waiting for seeds to kick in that never would. Never mind talking with aliens or hunting for dropped cigarettes. Never mind becoming blind as a bat or hardly being able to swallow whatever liquids I drank to alleviate the dehydration. I didn't have the constant urge to urinate, possibly because I'd been trained from so many late-night trips to avoid leaving my parents' basement at all costs. But I did take one bathroom break, which I took time out from to examine my pupils. That was just the reminder I needed to realize that I was fucked up and needed to avoid all contact. After my sister's concerned check-in and the bathroom break, there was another knock at the door. This time I told myself I was just paranoid and it was my imagination. After 3 or 4 knocks, there was no denying I was in deep shit. I answered it to see my mother's face grim and threatening with the question taking no time to jump from her lips. "Are you on something?" A million excuses filled my mind, and I can't be sure, but the one that I believe popped out involved taking a few many antidepressants. Not a bad choice, as the label says may cause hallucinations, delirium, dry mouth, and all the other symptoms I had, and she would know that working in a pharmacy. So I would be off the hook, able to go back to smoking my cigarettes in insanity land. Not quite yet. She wants me to go upstairs and talk. Make sure I am okay. Bad choice, as I am the farthest thing from okay. I found myself at the kitchen table near 5 a.m., jumping from the most nonsensical topic to the next. A wonderful show for your family, I think not. I would stop mid-sentence and come back into consciousness and think how much of an idiot I was for allowing myself to run off the handle like that, and the look on their faces in that moment of clarity was enough to shock me back into rambling and incoherent gibberish mode. This cycle went on for 20 minutes as I tried to be normal and thought I was playing them like puppets. That is until I puked up a bellyful of tea and half-digested Datura Seeds all over the kitchen table. I was filled with the dread that my lie would be discovered then and there, but it wasn't time for that yet. Somehow I managed to lay myself on the kitchen floor, where I watched armies of half cricket, half roaches in awe as they marched in perfect strategic lines like you see in the Chinese military marches. I was also threatened with the possibility of visiting the emergency room, which between bug-gazing moments I peacefully protested. After the nightmarish scene upstairs, I was somehow allowed to retreat to my room, unsure and only half thinking of what trouble lay ahead. I just wanted to be in the safety of my room. Once in, I immediately calmed down to my average state of being, although still experiencing the loose cigarette phenomenon as well as periods of spacing out and dreaming while wide awake. There was no more panicky hallucinations, though. My girlfriend showed up and told me something bad had happened, and she wants to know what happened. I asked her what the problem is, and apparently Will's mom was calling up friends to see what poison had been given to her son. I then start a short one-way conversation about my grandparents, who she barely knows, for no reason until I snap back to reality and see the familiar shocked stare. That was when I realized how much trouble Will could be in. Through a friend, I learned that Will came home and began talking to imaginary friends. He was as blurred and blind as I was, if not more. It wasn't the incoherent gibberish or the psychotic look in his eyes that worried his family. It was the fact that he had been found eating carnation baby formula, and when asked what the hell he was doing, replied, "I'm eating McDonald's." Both of our vision was restored after a day of sleep and recovery, which surprised me after reading all the reports here lasting 4 days and longer. I had to admit to my mother what I had really done, and it was humiliating, just like the time I told her I had tried coke, speed, and basically everything but H. This time, it was maybe even worse because I undeniably lost control, and it was all over a natural, legal plant. I have not eaten Datura again and don't plan on it soon. I did begin experimenting with smoking the fresh picked leaves, flower, anther, and filament, and the results are much lighter. After less than a gram of flower material, lethargy sets in, known around here as Datura stoned. Also, I have a bit of anxiety, fearing another onslaught by this untamed plant. I have yet to experience drastic effects smoking Datura that I had while eating the seeds. One last word of caution. It has been over a year since I ate the seeds, but over time I have caught myself dreaming while still awake in bed, believing it is all just a dream. Like many others into lucid dreams, I always test the boundaries of unreality by doing things I couldn't get away with in the real world, like tearing my girlfriend's panties off with my teeth, for example. Not a personal example in my case, but a very possible and potentially bad scenario if I'm not expecting to act that way and if I'm not woken up in time. I have had these occurrences 3 to 4 times and never did before taking Datura, not even sleepwalking. I will be thinking it is okay to do this or that because I can just wake up or press reset like a video game when that actually isn't true. The same feeling of stupidity I had between moments in and out of consciousness while on Datura is present after these rare experiences.